I see too many people that get stressed out about everything, that have anxiety, that have depression, that have anger, that are all over the place. And if you can shift your perspective to look at everything in it from a different lens, you will realize that life is pretty good.
Shift happens, opportunities change, and success is a choice. So when shift happens, it is our choice. Either we let shift happen or we can make shift happen. Hey, welcome everybody to the Talking Shift episode here with my man, Dino. So happy that you're here. And Dino's the CEO of Ethos Lending. And we have a really fun, powerful story to share here. And as Dino and I have gotten to know each other more, and as we've met through different conferences and we've done some podcasting together and just getting to know Dino's story and his background, this is something relatable to all of us, whether it's from origination to branch management to executive leadership, but just also a good human, right? A member of the Good Human Club. And I think truly diving into why ethos. And I think as we get to know Dino and his conversation, you'll understand why his company is named Ethos and what Dino's ethos is as well. And so, Dino, super happy that you're here, brother. Welcome to the Talking Shift podcast.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And man, I gotta say, you are looking good today.
Dude, just like we're talking, he was rolling the shoulders a little bit. The shirt just sort of
The
really,
shirt,
shines
it
over
looks so
here.
good on you.
I love it. I was already wearing it the other day. My wife's like, "Oh, I like that shirt." And by the way, can I just point out the fabric? It's a good fabric for a shirt. It's not that stiff cotton. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Not to hijack the show about cotton, but I did find one that I loved, and I just went with it. I got all the different colors, and there you go.
Yeah,
Might as
I
well have
noticed
good
these things.
quality.
Yeah, no, I noticed these things. Well, and I think that again, that speaks into like I'm going to parlay this. That speaks into as I've gotten to know you, your let's just say commitment to doing the right thing, commitment to the quality of your business where that business applies. And maybe that's a good segue into talking a little bit about, what is your background and especially what got you into this business and there's a journey here, but tell me a little bit more about like kind of what got you into this business and kept you going.
Yeah, I mean, so I grew up in the restaurant business, like any good Greek, I worked in food, so it taught me at a really young age customer service, and it taught me really just hard work and that every good human is is good with hard work. Like you gotta work, right? And my culture and my dad, I mean, it's just what we did. So growing up, I did a lot of that. Wasn't always good, and I didn't learn enough about the balance. I'm doing that now as I get older. But by all means, I got taught at a young age how to persevere and how to quickly make changes when something doesn't work and keep on going, and through the years, through lots of coaching and reading and all the other good things, I've also learned that a lot of times you're this far from success. And what do most people do when they're this far? They don't persevere past that one last obstacle that could have been the one that's, hit the oil, struck the gold.
I love the word perseverance. In fact, I was just in a coaching conversation with a client this morning and we are talking about perseverance, but I frame it also in the form of innovation, and like innovation happens in the perseverance of the idea. For example, the idea is the invention, but if we want to innovate and grow and succeed, that comes in the perseverance of it. Because the idea itself, and that's where people can start kind of chasing squirrels or just sort of like moving too quickly. That's invention. And it's the old Edison quote, right? He didn't invent the light bulb, but he, figured out how to make it burn brighter, last longer. He innovated the light bulb. So I love that word perseverance. So And the restaurant background, yeah. Actually, one of my good friends who's Greek, he's a restaurateur too, so I immediately connect with that. So you have perseverance as customer service, obviously hard work and the grind and everything else. And so when did you get into the mortgage
I'll
business?
add real quick. I'll add one more thing on that. It just came to me because my dad's passed, but I will
Mm,
say he was my greatest mentor. And I was fortunate enough. I didn't think this at the time, right? Because I was working a lot in the restaurant business when everybody else was at the beach. But I got a chance to actually work with my dad a lot. So even though we were at work, I was spending quality time with my dad. And my dad was one of these guys that was also a big reader and always trying to figure out how to do something better and knew that he didn't have all the answers. So he was always searching for that, right? And he taught me that really valuable lesson. But what came to mind when you were saying that, the one thing that trumps all of it, he said, common sense. Sometimes you just got to have some common sense. And when you think about like our daily choices in life, right? Whether we're overcomplicating something or whether we're not giving it enough thought or whatever, you're just common sense sometimes will solve everything.
pretty amazing, right? Is it really that easy? Is it really that easy though? And I think you're right. I think you're right. Just listening to a little bit of common sense, a little bit of their gut check, and complication. That's another funny thing. I always say like one of my superpowers is being able to take the complicated out of the complex. And I
Yeah.
think that's where value comes in, from leadership, coaching, just observation, where we can get so caught up in the grind of it all or in the weeds or the complications of it all. And sometimes that taking that outside in, approach and look at it, there's a common sense, solution in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh, and I love that you have that experience with your dad. So your dad was the restaurant owner. Did I catch that right?
Yeah.
So actually, I really do like this conversation, even before getting into the origination side of it, because I think there is so much to learn in the restaurant business. What were your roles in the restaurant?
Yeah. I mean, started when I was 8 years old. And, you got just go out and clean the tables, make sure they're clean, right? Ready for somebody else to sit on them. And then I just silly, but it was one of the first memories, right? It was first cleaning tables and then it was hamburgers. And we'd get these blocks of cheese like this. They were already sliced, but the cheese kind of melts together, right? So my dad would have me unslice them and then crisscross them so that during the busy hour, the cooks could easily grab it without having to try and peel it off. And I'd get a quarter for every block. And then I'd run to the bus depot and play asteroids or pinball
Of
or
course.
man, right? Those
Right.
three options we had, Galaga.
Right.
And and then it escalated and I got and I got to the front of the house, right? Where I started dealing with customers coming in and it was fast foods. Gosh, I must have been first. I was making drinks and giving out orders. Hey, number 42, number 37, right? Whatever. But then at by the age of 12, and I think back at this, nobody knows how to give out change, kids or adults.
Uh,
They just don't know how to give out change. And when somebody's handing you a 20 and it's 789, like, you're trying to do this math from 20 minus 789. And some people can. My brain doesn't work like that, but the way they taught me is just count up. 789, 1 penny is 90, 10 cents is $8. 9, 10, and a 10 is 20, right? And as silly as that is, it gets your brain really like working quickly because you don't have time when you got lines of people everywhere and you have food coming up and you learn how to just move quicker. You learn how to have some common sense and how to put two and two together really quick. And then little things, man, like when the food's taking too long, giving somebody their drink a little earlier, giving them a little something to munch on while they're waiting, right? And enjoying a conversation with them just to take up time. These are the little things that my dad taught me that people don't even think about. Even other restaurant owners don't think about just because they don't have common sense, right? But you can distract them a little bit and they have no idea that another 5 minutes just passed. And 5 minutes ago, they were upset that their food was taking too long. Now they're happy. Now they actually walk away super happy. And I always say, it's so unfair. I can give somebody a free appraisal or free underwrite or free $2,500. And they're grateful. My dad would give them a free hamburger or a free drink for a couple bucks, and they thought he was just the nicest guy in the world, you know? So customer service goes beyond the expectations. It's what else can you do to really make somebody's time with you memorable.
So there's a lot of through lines, I think, in what you're saying, and customer. So let's say that again. Customer service. Actually, you say that again because I like how you put that, because I think there's some framing around this that is so applicable way beyond, in the restaurant, obviously, like, to your point, with that. I don't care if we're originating, if we're leading, just in our lives, but and there's say that again.
Yeah, so we'll have to rewind, right, to get the exact, but customer service is more than just doing what you're expected to do. It's all those other little things that leave somebody with that memory. Like how memorable was their time with you?
So customer service leaves someone with that memory. So now let's take that a little further, right? Because this is what I'm seeing. Like, it also leaves them with now how I feel about this situation, right? And we know emotion is a lot stronger than logic. And the other thing that I'm recognizing this is like, I see you, I hear you. And that goes into the human condition. And so I think we can get so caught up in trying to make sure we don't have conflict in a process or a mortgage loan, or if something goes wrong, we're trying to throw things at it. But we actually stopping to see what is the challenge? Because hey, let's not give away what we don't need to give away, but
Right.
are we seeing what the actual, not what's in front of us, but sometimes like what's behind that? And again, and I think, dare I say, your experience in the restaurant business, perseverance, working with your dad, cross the cheese, because if I cross the cheese into a diagonal pattern, the cooks can grab it faster, then we're more efficient. Well, this isn't taught in school. This is just a common sense approach. So I think
Yeah.
looking through that lens, I mean, how is that translated now, even into the mortgage business or other parts that, you recognize?
Yeah. So here's the other one, right? Is what did I say earlier? I said, if the food's taking a little long, you distract them. How do you distract them? Right? You can give them something now to munch on. You can just talk to them, get dialogue going, right? Well, let's just say underwriting's taking a little long. What do most originators do? Nothing. They sit
For a ride.
quietly and they hide, hoping it's just going to go away. And instead, why don't you call? Be proactive. Why don't you distract them and get them to a point where they're not thinking about that anymore? I mean, it works. It's
Well,
really hand in hand.
that goes into ownership. Like, we're just gonna own it. I mean, I've made those calls before, like, "Hey, I'm just calling to let you know I don't know yet, but I just wanna make sure that we touch base today." As simple as that.
It's just so interesting, man. We have this one realtor. He's been a realtor of mine for a long time, right? And now my team handles it all. And sometimes it gets frustrating. And I actually love working with him. He's really, really good. And he reminds me of me. Now, can he appear rude at times? That's kind of how everybody takes it, but it's their own fault. And the reason why is because and this just happened recently, right? Where he always follows up. He follows up with another question and another question. And then everybody gets frustrated. And my response is, well, you left that door open. You can't just tell somebody like that, just like you can't tell me, I don't this didn't work. Okay, what are you going to do to fix that now? What's the solution? This didn't work is not a good answer. This didn't work, but here's the plan I have to fix it. And then he can ask questions about that, or you can just even be more and tell him more. And now you leave him with no doubts or questions of what you have or haven't done, right? But everybody just either hides or they give a short little answer thinking that should be enough. And for some people it is, but for guys like me, the only reason why I became a good originator is because I didn't take no for an answer. Just because one underwriter tells you no, it doesn't mean it's a no, right? Sometimes you can turn that underwriter if you have a good answer, if you have a good question to ask the underwriter. And other times you're not going anywhere with that person or that bank or whatever. Let's just hop the fence and go to this next one. And that's the beauty of being a broker, which is what I love so much.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's being solution oriented. Where I like where this conversation is going to, you have a certain lens that you look through that's guiding your decision making. In fact, I'd probably even argue to say that you're not even in decision making mode. It's just the way you operate. It's the filter.
Yeah.
It's your theme. It's and even going back to when we have the follow ups. Another thing that I often said, throughout my management, my leadership, make sure we're answering the question before they have to ask it. And so if we're approaching it like that, and if we're approaching it that I'm anticipating what this statement's gonna what questions are gonna result from this statement, and I can do that, that's customer service. That's I see you. That's perseverance, right? And I see that in, I'll say, in your ethos, in your work ethic, from origination. And I mean, and you were a top originator for a long time. Why would you leave that? That's pretty good. When you got that figured out and you got that nut cracked, I mean, you can make money, you've got a good thing going. Why would you be such an idiot to start your own company, right?
Well, this sounds like a question my wife asked me recently.
Well, she might have prepped me beforehand. She's like, "You just asking this question again?"
So it's interesting because it's been my company for a long time. I just haven't acted like a business owner. I've acted like a top originator. And I love originating. I actually really do because I get to interact with so many people and my love language is words of affirmation. As long as I do a good job, I get words of affirmation, right? So, and the money, let's face it, you can't really can't beat that. It's pretty darn good money. So, with that said, there's a calling, man. There's a calling to do something more. And my wife questions it because the money is not flowing like it did when it was originating. And she looks at it and she even asks me because I still officially I do loans. I'm just not hunting anymore and I'm not talking to clients, somebody else is. And she doesn't understand why I can't do both. And she doesn't understand that term burn the boats. So I don't know if I can really ever explain it to her, but the reality is I just have this calling to do so much more. And as an originator, I can touch a lot of people and I can there's the faith-based side of me and I do truly feel like I can bless people with what I do. And thank goodness that at some point I made enough money that it wasn't it was always about making money, but it wasn't always about making money. Like I can bless people that need help and not care if I make as much money as I should. Or in some cases, I like to donate. Why do I have to go make the money in order to donate it? This person really needs it. Let me bless them now and forget the donating later, right? Let me just do it now and I can save somebody thousands of dollars. And quite honestly, a lot of times I don't even need to save them thousands of dollars. I do it just by doing my job and making the full amount, right? But by doing it the right way, making sure they're not stressed through the whole, experience. There's so many little things. But to answer your question, now I feel like I can go do that same thing to other mortgage advisors and get them to multiply it. And I really do feel that. I feel that we're going to multiply this. I want to leave a legacy behind, not just for my family, but for the whole industry, not just from my employees or loan officers or any, but for the whole industry. I've always, for anybody who's been in long enough, right? It's always like the used car salesman, the cell phone guy, the this guy, and the bottle service guys that you can always know where mortgage companies because they're all out there smoking, right? Or it's always near a bar because happy hour's full. It's just like can be different and better, and I feel like it's time for that shift to happen. Oh,
Well done.
uh,
Well played
you
right
know,
there.
we can do it, right? Greg Sure just put out a post on LinkedIn just a couple days ago, and he was talking about I think the credit, how the cost of credit's gone up and all this other stuff, and what else do we need to do in the mortgage industry? And my comment was, I'm not going to be popular for this, but we need to make it harder for guys to do loans. Can't just shouldn't be able to just go in and do hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars worth of loans for somebody that could bury them. You know what I mean? I mean, there should be strategy in everything you do. Your goal isn't to put them in debt. Your goal is to get them out of debt. The financial advisor's goal is to increase their wealth. Yours is to decrease their debt. You should be working together in tandem to be able to create this stuff. This is what changes people's lives forever.
Well, I mean, there's so much that you're saying too that it goes so the by the way, nothing you're saying is transactional. I'm gonna come at it from that angle. Nothing you're saying is transactional. Everything you're saying comes from a point of a belief system, right? And our beliefs influence our behaviors, which influences our actions. And I think what's so important here, and it's so hard because I understand as originators, we can get very caught up into a transactional or even commoditized type of business. We all think relationally, but so many act transactionally. And so, what I'm hearing from you at the level of a belief system, it doesn't matter if you're applying it in the restaurant, if you're applying it in sales and origination, or if you're applying it now as the CEO of Ethos, and now how you can reach a wider audience of originators and others who then affect other people. I mean, that really is, spreading a belief system. And I agree with you. It's funny. I remember saying this back in the sound old now, back in the early 2000s during all the non-conforming craze. And I thought to myself, I think the barrier of entry is too low. Like too many people can just come in. All of a sudden, I remember like, I just taught you how to do a loan. And now your business card says you're a senior loan officer 3 months later. And I remember just being like kind of disgusted by that.
Yeah.
And so I actually resonate with what you're saying. And I'll tie it back to because, and again, you're speaking my language here, you brought it back down to strategy. And, I'm of the belief you said debt advisor, right? That the financial planner runs the asset side of the balance sheet. And I think the originator, the mortgage advisor runs the debt side of the balance sheet. And to your point, how do we create debt strategy? And so I'm on a mission with those I work with to really create mortgage strategists, right? And to be thinking, and I don't say that from just a title. I'm saying that because I'm trying to rewire the way we look at our business to be a strategist, not a
Yeah.
transaction, but to
Yeah.
truly approach this as a strategist. And as a strategist, as if, now what do we do? And so I love your approach and all of that because that's a natural direction. And look at how you applied that into your business and your growth.
So I don't even know if you know this or if we talked about it, but have I ever told you about the M.U.M that I've created or still trying to create?
The mum.
The M.U.M, M-U-M, mortgages under management. And
Okay, sure.
and what I did is when I stepped back from producing, it was like, what am I going to do that's going to be different?
Hmm.
Because the shift has happened.
Let's just make sure we got that right there.
That's the it has, right? The traditional model is broken. And yet everybody keeps trying to do it. But yet there's a few people that are paving the way, right? And they're changing things. In my eyes, it's like, okay, why would somebody come to Ethos? There's only so many people that are going to come here because they like me, right? There's got to be something more. And what I did is like, all right, I mean, hey, as an originator, I was successful. I did well. How about we dissect what I did? We break it up and be intentional about it. Because a lot of times when you do something for so long, you just do it without even really realizing there's a system in place, right? But we systematized all of it. And I'll skip through a lot of this stuff, but where I'm going with the mom is the mom is the way I did business. That was my form of doing business. I didn't realize it, right? And what I've done now is this mom is a conversion tool from a loan officer to a mortgage advisor. And if you do this properly, you will have a book of business. And a book is what? It's worth something. There's value to it. That's saying you are only as good as your last deal. I've always thought was bullshit. Like I've always thought that. It's like, that's just not true. Been doing this for 28 years and I still have clients that I met 28 years ago. So it can't be true. But the reality is it's true for most people in our industry. Why? Because they're transactional.
Bingo.
Right? Now, the relational guys, and there's plenty of them. There's a lot of great guys out there. The biggest fault they have, including myself, I was probably better than most, but including myself, is you don't really have a book because you're counting how many units you funded and the dollar volume. But any normal business that sells one day, no buyer says, I'll take it. Like, I love it. They want to know everything, the details of how you got there. Well, sure, you did that, but how much did you spend to get it? I mean, are you buying leads? Are you buying realtors? Or what are you doing? Like, show me the P&L, right? Like, and then let's show me the bank statements. I want to match it up, man. I want to see that this is real. What's your referral rate? What's your retention rate? Right? I mean, there's so many little things like that. And nobody knows those answers. Very, very few people know those answers. So you can't really have a book. You can have some repeat business. You can have a good base of business, but you can't really have a sellable book if you don't know the answers to those. So our mom, and I will say it's not 100% complete yet because, dude, it is so hard to get all the systems to just talk the way I want them to without it being a manual thing. Now, when I did it for my business, it was manual. It
Yeah.
does a lot of work,
Yeah.
right? Now with AI, I want to be able to just like really truly integrate all of it. And with it, when I know your average age of your clients, right? An average age of 40 is a more valuable book than an average age of 65. An average interest rate of 7 is a more valuable book than an average interest rate of 2.99. A geographical location. What kind of consumer, what kind of clients do you have, right? But then also, what's your retention rate? I know you interviewed Eric over at Model Match. I mean, they got some great stuff there, dude. Like you can actually, you know what your retention rate is, like legit, right? And when you know that, you can apply that. So a book in other circumstances, like a financial planner or an insurance guy, it's really about every year, what's their reoccurring revenue, right? And
Renewals. Yeah.
on renewal. So it's easy to really quantify that. We don't have that. But in my eyes, it is a valuable piece of it's an asset if you can measure it. So what's your retention rate, right? Like how many of the people came back to you? Because you might think they're your client, but did you even know that they sold that house? Did you even know that they refinanced already? No. If you don't, you're worthless, right? Like what kind of an advisor are you that didn't keep up with your clients? So what we're trying to create is this real like asset.
Hmm.
And if we make it an asset, I can guarantee you're going to treat it like an asset. You're going to do your yearly reviews. You're going to do your check-ins. You're going to have consistent, pieces going out to them, right? You're going to go, whatever it is that you do, you're going to be doing it more often because that value will disappear on you. Our thing at Ethos is there's a lot, but the one I'm most proud of is going to be this M.U.M when it's done because it's the differentiator in the entire industry. If you want to sell, if you want to retire one day, you know why no mortgage advisor, loan officer, why they always say I'll never retire? Because they can't. That's why they say it, I'll never retire. But if they could, they would. And one day, if you want to sell your book, it goes up for sale to all the mortgage advisors at Ethos. As a company, we're going to step in with all the data points and financing to facilitate a buyout. And then, of course, just like any business, it's a negotiation. You want to pay out, you want a 1 year, 3 year, or 5 year, right? That kind of thing. And oh, by the way, if you work off your cell phone, you got a worthless business. Got to have a phone system in place with AI, tools that integrate with the CRM so everybody knows what's going on. You got to act and treat it like a real business.
Okay. So, first of all, this is brilliant. Like, honestly, and I would say that everybody would hear this and say, well, yeah, of course I look at my pool of business and this is my book of business, but nobody executes on it intelligently. Now with AI coming in, okay, now we have tools to help kind of do the heavy lift. But the difference that I'm hearing, and we have talked about this, and I'm happy you brought this up because I wanted to go down this road. The mortgages under management, you're translating that now into a true book of business, into an asset, like a servicer has their book of business and their different assets, the pools of bonds. I mean, all of that stuff. If we can honor our book of business like that as an asset, now I have a whole different lens I'm looking through that I'm going into this. Is my asset diversified? How valuable is my asset? Where do I want? And what part of my asset is giving me ROI? Because that might give me indication into, we've talked about our genius zone, right? Give me indication to this is where I thrive with our ideal client and this type of clients. Here's where I'm getting retention. Now, and to your point, and our friend over, at Model Match, Eric Levin, the Borrow Insights and everything else that they're providing. Now, with the tools and the AI technology, and you're pulling this stuff together, you're telling me I can now start getting true insights into that. You're telling me that's now worth something. I can approach that a little differently. That's giving me longevity. And then that's also giving me an exit strategy. And I think as you're now bringing that together, the tools that you're building around that at Ethos, right? Like now, how do we service this book of business? I think in a much more intelligent way than just trying to throw CRMs at things or, to your point, and this is going to be even, and I think this is where you're going to be ahead of this game because the game is shifted, right? The mortgage business has shifted, society has shifted. And I'm not saying because of AI, but because of AI now empowering, you have the lead aggregators are going to be getting to our clients sooner and with a better rate. Fintech has figured out how to come in and disrupt, right? The traditional IMBs, they're expensive, right? They're expensive. And we have a lot of people all over the place not using the tools and the widgets. So, for example, I think, and okay, I'm not going to make a lot of friends saying this, when and if or how much rates actually ever do come down into what level, like this new unicorn refi boom that may or may not happen, I don't know if our average originator is going to get those refis like they used to. I don't think a refi boom exists for the average refi, for the average originator, because the other competitive threats that we haven't realized or seen before to this high degree, servicers, lead aggregators, fintech, all these things we're talking about, they're going to come and eat that lunch. And so that's why I like how you're looking at the mortgages under management, because now we're in front of our borrower, not at the time of a transaction, but in their customer life cycle, so to
Yeah.
speak, right? I mean, tell me a little bit more about how you're raising the value of that asset if we kind of think about it like.
Yeah. You mean like how are we going to value it? What do you mean?
No, I mean, like, if I'm an originator and I have my mom, with you,
Yeah.
how are you thinking about it where I can now
Yeah.
raise the value of the asset to me? Not from an exit strategy. I just mean from like how can I get more ROI out of this book of business? I'm thinking about it like.
So I'm going to do it with proper incentives and the mom is the start of the proper incentive, but you still can't force them. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to do it for them. There's going to be some people, they're such control freaks, they won't allow it. But we dissected my personal business and we broke it out and we're just trying to do it for them. We're not, I mean, Ethos is still young, right? Like we haven't achieved all this stuff yet, but when it's done, it's going to be on autopilot. A mortgage advisor, and I don't call them loan officers, right? Because like I said, it's a tool, it's a conversion. I don't, a loan officer is somebody that has a job. A mortgage advisor is somebody that has a career,
That's right.
has their own business.
Yeah.
And I'm not looking for employees, I'm looking for partners. With that said, I want you to succeed. Therefore, we have a proven way of doing business. And oh, by the way, it will change. So we're always changing. We're not going to just keep sitting on the same thing. And sometimes we'll change before we even need to. But trust me, you got to, right? And if we do it for them and we show them how it works, then I believe that will help raise the bar and get them to a place where they can just accept it and allow it to happen. So I'll give you an example. Um, we have our Always Present program, and it's gift giving at the highest level you've ever seen. And it's not gift cards, it's not all the typical stuff. And we don't wait to make money on a client before we send them a gift. We do it at the very beginning. We have a before, during, and after campaign, and it starts early at the very, very beginning. I mean, if you're going to spend $100 on their credit report, you might as well spend a few more bucks, 20 more bucks on the first gift, and make sure you got them locked in, right? But it also establishes the very beginning of the pattern of how you're going to treat them for the whole rest of the transaction. Now, we had a brand new mortgage advisor come in. And in the beginning, it's like, like, do you send it out? I mean, just trust me, please trust me. It's the best thing I've ever done. Like, I've never experienced a better ROI, right? Sure enough, I get the text message like a couple nights later saying, my clients just got this, and oh my gosh, they loved it. And they posted this on social media, and the realtor's so happy. And it's like, there you go. Guess what you just did? You just raised the bar. And now you just on your opportunities to get refinances, like way up. I'm sorry, not refinances, referrals
That's
and
exact
refinances.
and that's exactly what I was looking for, right? Because it is a level of, like, surrender. And if we're looking at our book of business, not transactionally, "Hey, I gotta get this refi or this purchase in the moment," but more holistically, now we're implementing these strategies. The gift I used to work with Darren over at Box and Bestow, and I'm not sure if you're using Box and Bestow or somebody else, but like gift giving methodology there. And by the way, that borrower is probably not shopping you like a transactional situation. So going back to what we were just talking about in the shifting business, everybody's going to be under threat. And so all of a sudden we establish this relationship. That relationship now is stronger than the transaction. And of course, now the asset value is going up. And so nobody is thinking about it like this. And if they are, they're not equipped to figure this out. I think it's probably a talking point, but I have not seen anybody in this business actually approach it like this. And now let's go past the talking point and into here's how we execute and raise this value for you, for the originator, for the mortgage strategist, for the mortgage advisor. And so, I love and I know you and I've talked a lot about, we're both really digging into AI and really trying to figure out going past again, I could do some kind of fun little things. AI is helping me build out my Thanksgiving menu and, give me some recipes. But I'm really trying to figure out, no, I need AI and build out my AI assistants to actually start leveraging and amplifying my business. Actual
Totally.
applicable use in my business today that's going past this sort of the obvious, notes and the tones. Tell me a little bit about, what you're discovering in your sort of AI journey right now.
Yeah, man, I spent way too long today on it.
You probably started about 3:30 this morning if I know you.
I started at 3:50, and
Oh, you slept in.
and when I got in, I had this plan, and I got sidetracked because I was stupid enough to check my email, and there was this, recruit who had really good questions, and I was like, "Alright." Normally and my assistant did, but she's like, "It's easier if you schedule a call with Dino directly," but I was like, "Alright, man, I've been working on my Ethos Recruiter GPT." I wanted to test it out. So I said, "Here's the email. Please reply for me," right? And I was like, "It's good, but there's a few little things." And then I corrected it. And then I said to the GPT, "Can you remember this now so we don't have to talk about it?" "Yes, absolutely, boss." Right? Like that's what she calls me. And we went in, we did all this stuff, and then I got sidetracked, and it was all gone. So I went back in. I said, "Can you pull this up?" I can't pull it back up because I was in the GPT on the internal side.
GPTs don't have memory, and so that's, again, just throwing that
Yeah.
out there. Yep.
Yeah. So I switched and I went to the recruiting project that I have, and I went through that. And then the same BS. I was like, "Oh my gosh," I was getting frustrated, right? I just wanted to reply to this email at this point, but I also wanted to fix the problem. So I kept going and going. And then I switched again, And I'm like, let me get smarter. And I went to my clone because I've been building a clone. And I said, let me see how my clone does. And my clone did better than everybody. And I asked the question, I told it what happened in the GPT, and I said, hey, I don't want to be training two models and going here. And it said, start here. Always start here. This is the most polished, and I know everything about you, and blah, blah, blah. And then I will give you clear instructions to paste into the GPT recruiter. So I went after it, I started it, and it pissed me off, man, because and this is where like AI still like
Yeah.
it hallucinates a little bit, it
Yeah.
drifts a little bit.
Yeah.
But one of the questions was, do you have does compensation change in tiers? Do you have any bonuses? And we are super aggressive. Like you're self-employed here, so you're just at the top. There are no tiers. You just this is what you get, right? And I told her that, and her response back in the next draft was, uh, we are at the highest tier possible according to law. I was like, who told you this was a law? Like, don't just say something, right? So I got pissed off, and now I'm like fighting with my clone and I'm trying to fix it. But going back to AI, dude, like you and I have talked a lot about this. It's the most amazing thing. I am so jacked up about it that I am waking up at 4 a.m. every single day. And all of a sudden lately, even before my alarm, because I'm like excited. It's my most favorite time of the day right now is my early mornings because I just focus on AI. And I have been able to accomplish so many things that I never would have done, or I would have had to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to have done. And the worst part is nobody else could even do all that unless they were picking my brain the entire time, which would have also taken up my time. Now I can create these things. But with that said, wonderful. I love it. But man, I'm not there yet. I cannot wait to get this stuff implemented in a way that it just happens so that we can truly start shaving time. Like I'm shaving lots of time. I'm shaving days and weeks off of my projects, which is amazing. But now the next step for me is how do I shave daily tasks off of my daily work routine, right? And when that happens, I'll be the happiest guy in town.
Well, and I think, and then again, I'm going to tie this right back. Your perseverance, that work ethic, now digging into this whole new genre, with AI and how that actually applies to give us that lift. Because I'm going into it too, and it's infinite, and that's where I struggle is because everything can take you down so many different paths, and so it's really staying in that lane and trying to almost be more linear than abstract with it. At least that's
Yeah,
how I have to approach it. Otherwise, my brain explodes because it's going in too many different directions. But I mean, I think perseverance really sums it up. And I'm in the same sort of journey as you trying to figure this out. And I still and I recognize what you're saying because I still get stuck in the I'm spending more work, time, energy, and effort trying to figure out how to use AI to do this versus if I just did it on my own. But if I didn't do that, then I'm not learning and getting exposed to the AI, like, again, or maybe the heavy lift. So at some point, it will be able to solve that problem, for me in different
totally.
ways.
Totally. There's so many different things that it can do. And I would say the biggest challenge for people is to not be okay with it.
Uh-huh.
Because I look at the first draft of everything and say, man, that is better than I could ever do on my own. But I keep challenging it and I keep going back and I keep, correcting and putting that time in and critical thinking should not go away because you got AI. Critical thinking, you should have the bandwidth now to have more time to critical think and have all these minions, your AI,
Yeah.
just doing it all,
Yeah.
right? But critical thinking cannot go away. In fact, it needs to level up because these are the things that will continue to help your AI get smarter and smarter and you to produce better and better.
Agreed. And agree. And in fact, my concern at first was, okay, AI is going to decimate critical thinking, especially, with the younger generation coming up. So I love that you brought that up. And now as I start using it more, I'm actually finding my critical thinking actually escalating. And it's
Yeah.
putting it where AI is helping me solve problems so that I can critically think where I want to apply those solutions or what are the problems that I can start solving with it. And I think that's the transition or the shift, right,
Yeah.
into where we apply and let AI do some of this heavy lift. And by the way, so many things we're talking about would have been impossible 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I have a
Totally.
client who's launching a new AI company. This would not have you would not be able to do any of this technology without a $20 million investment and 5-year time horizon. Now it can be done in 6 months.
Yeah.
It can be done in less. AI is giving this lift, and so how do we apply that into our everyday lives? And that's I'm trying to solve that same problem that you are, and then how do we help other people do that?
For right now, I can truly say it's giving me the freedom and ability to act more like a CEO than an employee. It's leveling me up big time, and I'm using my time accordingly like a CEO would to better the entire company, right? And to place us in a better environment, not just to work in, but out in the public and with everybody, right? Just everything needs to be shifted into that category now. And I wrote a blog on this, by the way. Not everybody agrees with this, but now that I've spent this time, I truly feel it's going to give us back the time to spend with family, to spend with friends, right? To go to the gym and chill out and relax and go work out instead of on your phone or whatever it is you're doing. There is this art. So the pendulum, right? The pendulum has swung and now it's going to swing back. I am a huge believer, no matter how bad anything, politics, my gosh, you can talk whatever you want. It always swings, right? Right now, I believe the pendulum is swinging and it's going to swing back the other way so that we can be people again, so we can have community and friendship and time. And I think you're going to see marriages get better. I think you're going to see kids be healthier because they're spending time with their family, their dad again. I mean, shift is happening.
And great perspective on that, 'cause again, I agree. If we're using it the right way, if you're implementing it the right way, use it to leverage and pick you up, save you time, save you money, expand and help you scale so that you can then apply yourself into your relationships, your meaningful relationships, and the better parts of your business, right? And so that if we're just solving for that in everything we do with AI and other, I think we're gonna be okay. Think we're gonna be
I
okay.
think so too.
Yeah. Well, there's so much more to peel back in this conversation and I think we have a lot more follow up, conversations to be had. And I have a couple ideas too, because we got to launch AI Fight Club. And I think AI Fight Club would actually be pretty cool if we met and we did it as a live stream. I was just thinking about that during our conversation here. So
Yeah.
to be continued on that. All right. Final question, brother. You're in the audience. You're listening. What's the one word you want everybody to walk away with from this conversation?
A word that means a lot to me is perspective. And the reason why is because I see too many people that get stressed out about everything, that have anxiety, that have depression, that have anger, that are all over the place. And if you can shift your perspective to look at everything in it from a different lens, you will realize that life is pretty good. I mean, whatever political side you're on, right? If you're conservative, you're like, oh my gosh, life is terrible. Walk out your door and tell me if you feel like that. You usually don't, right? If you're on the opposite end and Trump's in office and you hate him so much, and it's like, look around, dude. How much has your life changed? Life is pretty good. Rates are high. Well, you know what? Shift how you do business. Don't just sit there and complain. Because I mean, my goodness, there's mortgage advisors out there that are still making over $1 million a year doing loans. They're not complaining. All you have to do is shift your perspective a little bit and then shift how you do things when needed, and you'll realize life is pretty good. And when you're grateful, you can't have anxiety. You know, when you're when you have love, you can't have depression. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know there's clinical stuff going on, but for the most part, all the things that everybody experiences that are so big and terrible in their lives, I think with a little perspective, you can realize that life is pretty good. Change your perspective and you'll change your outcome.
Powerful message, especially during the holidays right now. It's Thanksgiving time. We've got the, December holidays coming up. Really powerful message, and I appreciate that, and I'm grateful for that, and I love this conversation, man. I think there's a lot more to come from this.
I hope so.
All
Love
right.
to.
Well, I appreciate you being on here and everybody listening. Amazing message. Check out Dino. Check out where can they learn more about Ethos, Dino?
Yeah, I mean, just go to AI and type in Dino Ethos. You'll get
You
it.
got your
Right?
AEO optimized
Yeah.
already?
You could still go to Google, right? Go to Google if you need to, but ethoslending.com. I'm on all the social media platforms. It's Dino Katsiametis. You can find me on absolutely everything. And we have a webinar we're doing. I'm not sure when this is coming out for everybody to see, but our webinar, I think, is December 3rd. I forget the time, but
At
around 11 o'clock,
11:30. Yeah,
11:30 Pacific. So if this comes out before that and you're listening, go sign up. I think it's growwithethos.com. You'll see the sign up form, or just log in as social. You'll see it all over the place there. We would love to have you on there. Craig is going to be leading that conversation, and it's finding your genius zone,
that's
right?
right.
Or unlocking your genius zone.
Locking in your genius zone, but it's all
Locking in
good.
your
It's all encompassing there. It's all encompassing there, and
yeah.
I would say, brother, you're living in your genius zone, your beliefs, your perseverance, your perspectives on life, the problems you're trying to solve, the dedication, you see to it. That to me says that you are living in your genius zone, and I appreciate you being here, man. So happy holidays to you, brother. Happy Thanksgiving, because we are in Thanksgiving week as we're filming this, and I'm just grateful for you being here, man.
Thanks, brother. You too. And for everybody else out there too, love you guys. Have a great Thanksgiving.
All right, man. All right, everybody. Please like, subscribe, share. Great conversation. Love to hear your feedback on this. This is a very touching one. And so I hope everybody, enjoys their holidays, and to be continued. And Dino, thanks for talking shift. Hey, thanks for joining me today on Talking Shift. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on our next episode.